So hopefully I got that right. But thank you very much for your time and taking this opportunity to listen, to hear what I have to share for this session. So the topic for this session is my sexy identity security for everyone in the cloud. So it's a bit of an interesting topic, and it's totally done that way because we're going to talk about identity, and identity is many forms that exist in the modern environment. Okay, sorry. Okay. So let's start by looking at what we have gotten used to since the start of cybersecurity, the perimeter. Right? The traditional cybersecurity perimeter is pretty much physical. There is a clear distinction between what is trusted and anything within that premise, within that perimeter, whether it is the workplace or the office, is considered trusted and where cybersecurity efforts should be focused on. Anything else that is outside that perimeter is untrusted and something we should start to build walls and protection to protect the assets that are within. Okay, so let's look at the modern infrastructure. Okay. This modern infrastructure has changed all of that traditional method of thinking. Now we have organizational assets, users, and workplaces that are located outside of that traditional perimeter. Okay, you have apps running in the cloud, you have users working from home, you have employees accessing your resources and applications on the go. Okay, these have made securing the traditional perimeter very much harder. Okay, so this brings me to the main point that I want to make: identity. So what do I mean by identity? Right, identity can be summed up as something that a user has that can validate their permission and access to certain resources that your organization is providing. Okay, identity can belong to a human, a human user, an administrator, a customer. It is whichever you use to interact with organizational resources. Okay, so this is how they authenticate themselves. This can be logging into a laptop, okay, at the start of the day. This can be accessing a privileged resource, like a server or a database, or accessing a day-to-day application like a CRM. These are all very different types of identity. So traditionally, having a defined perimeter, it is easy to control how identity is used. But with this modern architecture, how do we do it? Okay, what happens when we don't secure identity? So if we don't secure identity, we basically leave ourselves open to attackers. Okay, because just by gaining this identity, an attacker can gain control to the organization's resources. And just like what this slide says, all that an attacker needs to do is just log in. They don't have to run some advanced attacks or exploit some obscure or zero-day vulnerabilities. All they need is to steal the identity of the correct individual, and they can just log in and gain access to whatever objective they want to achieve. So with all that being said, we can summarize that identity has become the new perimeter. Identity security is the only way to provide that critical first layer of protection, first layer of security inside this perimeter scope. Control how users can access which resources. Okay, what time and for what purpose? Controlling the type of permissions that these identities actually require. And this is all the concept about least privilege. Having the right amount of privilege they need to accomplish their task, nothing more and nothing less. Okay, so now let's talk about identity security and how you can secure the new perimeter. And just like adopting the assume breach mentality that you've probably heard in a lot of other speakers before me. This concept is to never fully trust a user. And here is how we can go about doing this. The pillars of modern identity security, the pillars of modern identity security can be divided into 4 pillars. So these 4 pillars are: verify every identity, validate every device that is trying to use that identity, limit the type of access that these identities can be used for, and lastly, to continuously monitor, analyze, and adapt to changes in these 3 steps. So let's look at each of these steps in a bit more detail and talk about how you can accomplish these items, these 4 pillars. So in step 1, verify every user. Here, we need to ensure that the users are who they say they are. To do this, we must do a few things. Firstly, is to ensure that we use strong multi-factor authentication. If something needs a login, it must have strong adaptive multi-factor authentication to verify that user's identity. So use things like modern authentication methods, like push authentication, one-time password, biometric, as well as passwordless authentication to achieve this. Make things as seamless as possible to ensure user adoption without sacrificing security. Also secure your applications behind a single sign-on portal. This allows you to enforce policies on all your applications. It also provides users a convenient way of accessing those resources that they need from a single location. You can also allow users to securely perform certain self-service actions like self-unlock or self-reset. So this also helps reduce operational effort from your help desk teams. Third is to make your policies adaptive. Apply different policies based on how users are accessing different resources based on the situation. If you have a critical application like a finance app, have additional continuous authentication to verify that user's identity before they can continue to have access to it. If a user has access to the application from outside of the organization, make sure that they're doing additional layers of authentication, like email, one-time password, to verify who they say they are. You don't need to have one identity policy for everything. You can create and adapt based on the scenarios and risks that these different types of identity pose to the environment. Okay, so now let's look at step 2. Validate every device that is being used for access. So as part of the identity verification process, what device that these users are using is very important part, as it is part of the criteria to validate that person's identity. So the initial entry point to your organization must have multi-factor authentication. So this is your endpoints, your workstations that are used by people in your company. So this entry point is usually, basically the laptops and devices these people are using. So everything starts and ends on the endpoint, because that is what is being used to access your resources. So logging into the workstation, into this entry point, must be protected with strong authentication. Also ensure that the endpoint is secure and complies with organization policies. Make sure you have strong endpoint security solutions in place to protect the security of the endpoint. And this is crucial to ensure proper security measures are in place, okay, to protect against threats like malware, vulnerabilities, and unsecure configuration. Also, ensure that high-risk privileged access on the endpoint is only used when necessary. Privilege rights on the endpoint should never be fully given, even though these users may have legitimate needs. Okay, so people like developers or IT administrators do require administrative rights, but you should never give them all the administrative rights. So provide only what is needed for their role, instead of giving them all the rights that they are asking for. Ensure only authorized access can run on applications that run on the endpoint. Anything that is unknown is a potential risk, or at least restrict the resources that these applications can access, preventing from accessing local files, shared folders, or internet access in order to reduce the risk posed by these unknown applications. Okay, now that we've looked at validating the device and validating the identity, let's look at step 3. Okay, where we're actually looking to limit privileged access to only those who need it. So in this step, all full-time privileged access, like those used by administrators to administer systems, should be controlled. Privileged access meaning anyone who has permissions that can administer a system are able to change how a system functions or has high-level access to the data that's being stored in the system. Some examples of this access are like server administrators, database admin, cloud admin, app admin, and including third-party vendors. So with this kind of privileged access, we need to ensure that any access that requires privileged credentials should be isolated and monitored, meaning that administrators should only access credentials that are relevant to their role, whether they use those credentials or the activity and the activity they are performing should be recorded. Okay, what applications did they launch? What commands did they execute? What configuration did they change? Okay, sorry. In following that concept of least privilege, privileged access should also be just in time. So by default, the rights shouldn't permanently exist and only granted when they are required. So this is to reduce the risk of permanent access being used for malicious ends. Okay, especially when using privileged access remotely, ensure that the access is secure. Use secure methods of access like biometric MFA and VPNless access to establish those connections, especially if those that need to use these privileged access are from outside of your organization, things like outsourced third-party vendors. And ensure that proper life cycle and workflow is followed when using these credentials. So automatically provision and retire privileged access based on the dynamic changes in your environment. So in this last step, we need to ensure all identity events are analyzed and monitored. Controlling identity is just part of the solution. Knowing how identity is being used is a crucial next step. So all sessions, especially those involved in privileged access, should be recorded and audited. This is important to do proactive actions or enable forensic investigation when a security incident occurs. Okay? The activity of the access should also be analyzed and against historical behavior to detect suspicious activities that may have happened in the environment. And we need to identify those threats that may otherwise have appeared normal and that may have slipped under the radar. And because security is a team game, an organization has many security tools at their disposal. So having identity security tool collaborate with those other tools is very important. And this can be done by using event forwarding of suspicious events, high-risk activities, as well as organizations, security operations center, so that further analysis can be done to ensure there's visibility into all these high-risk identity actions. So with those 4 steps, identity in an organization can be protected. And what better, you may wonder, that may help you achieve all those 4 steps. So want to know further? Because CyberArk is the only identity security company that is able to help your organization achieve all that I have talked about. With CyberArk's comprehensive identity security platform, CyberArk is able to help your organization achieve end-to-end protection of all your various identities, whether it's those used by your employees, those used by your privileged administrators, or those used by your third-party vendors, including those used by humans and machines. CyberArk has a solution to actually accomplish, to provide those protection across all these different types of identities. And CyberArk is also, like I mentioned before, security is a team game. So CyberArk supports a wide range of out-of-the-box integration, the most extensive in the market, so that CyberArk is able to manage identities wherever they may reside in. So also CyberArk has a very customizable platform, so that we can also onboard identities that they may not be part of this list, maybe be developed in-house, or a niche solution that your organization is using to ensure that we manage and protect identities in those various types of environments. And CyberArk also has our best practices, what we call the CyberArk blueprint, which can help you guide you along the journey of protecting identity within your environment based on CyberArk's leadership and experience deploying identity security. So one thing I'd like to also share is with CyberArk's identity security, it's also available as a service. Okay, with this modern SaaS-based solutions, your organization can enjoy the benefits of all that comes with SaaS, with things like reduced TCO, optimized usage of human resources, shortened implementation time, and more. Okay, so with that, I've come to the end of my sharing session. I'd like to thank everyone for your time, and I'd like to pass this back to the organizer. Thank you.